Today's class is offered to the general public by the BYU Family History Library. Questions related specifically to the family history work of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints should be addressed on an individual basis with one of our missionaries, either in person or virtually. Our presenter today is Sister Ina Robertson, who has a love of learning. You won't believe, but she has a PhD in physics and has done space physics, if I remember correctly, worked for NASA. She has an extensive background in family history and genealogical research, and she'll be talking a little bit about that. We hope you'll find your time with us productive and enjoyable. And this is part one of two parts. So I'll stop sharing my screen and turn the time over to Sister Robertson.
Well, thank you. I am excited to do this because my mother did a lot of genealogy, and she did that in the Netherlands. And the only way she could do that at that time was to go to the archives. And I never, well, at one time after I was married and I lived in Germany, I went with her to the archives. And I'll tell you, it is easier to do it from here. And you can do it exactly the same way my mother did, or you can do it a different way. And so I'm going to show you both ways to do the research. And I do it really from my little office in my house, and I sit here for many, many hours. All right, I am going to share my screen. I need to start my PowerPoint presentation, and there it is. And now now let's see if I can, I go back here and I am going to share my screen, and there it is. So, and you all can see it?
Yes.
And we're starting with town halls. And Napoleon, although he did a lot of bad things, one of the good things that he did was when he conquered the country, he really organized that country. And so people have asked me, why do you do the church records as a second lesson? And it is because searching through church records is a lot harder than searching through town hall records. And so I thought I'd start out easy. And so now I've got to figure out how. Oh yeah, I remember. Some of you have lived in the Netherlands, and so the Netherlands is a tiny country. It is very densely populated with about 17 million people, maybe 18 right now. And so if you live in the United States and you have a front yard and a backyard, you're very, very lucky compared to the people in the Netherlands. And so, but the thing that is so amazing about the Netherlands is they have amazing records, and a lot of them are online. And so the nice thing about town halls is you go there to report the birth of a child. People have to get married in a town hall. If they want a church marriage wedding afterwards, that is fine, but it is not legal. And so they first get married in a town hall, and then they have a church marriage if they want to. And then when people die, it has to be reported to the town hall. And so that is so amazing, because when you look at the birth record, it has the names of the parents. When you look at the marriage record, it has the names of the parents of the bride and of the groom. And sometimes it even has the birth dates of the bride and the groom. That is earlier in the history of the Netherlands. And if they have a child before the parents get married, the child is mentioned in there too. And again, in the death records, most of the time you have the names of the father and the mother, and sometimes also the name of the wife or the husband, the spouse. And so you have so much information that the puzzle is a very simple puzzle. I already told you about wonderful Napoleon. And the first thing you need to do when you look at records is you need to know where the provinces are of the Netherlands. And so you can, if you compare the Netherlands with the United States, then each province is is like a state in the United States. Or if you compare it with Utah, for instance, then all the different counties are provinces. And so the Netherlands, when I was little, had 11, but now we have I think we have 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. 12?
Yes.
Yeah. One thing that the Dutch do is they like to get land from water. And if you look at, I'm pointing with my mouse, but you can see Flevoland. When I went to elementary school, that wasn't there. That has all been regained from water and made land. And so, and actually, if you look at this western part of the Netherlands, that a lot of that is below sea level. And so that is kind of fun. But it really helps if you know where somebody was born, if you know what province that is in. And you can Google that and you will see the location. Now, the website I use the most actually is WieWasWie. That is translated as who was who. And it used to be free. It still is partially free. But if you, like all my genealogy is in the Netherlands, so I use it so much. The subscription is 19 euros and 95 cents. And you might be able to pay with a credit card. They would, when I had to renew after a year, they wanted my bank account information. And that is totally different from how the Dutch have their bank accounts. And so I emailed them and said, can I pay by credit card? And they said, yes. And I want to see, let me unshare my, stop share, because I'm going to show you, let me see here. And I will share my screen again. And I will see you. It is this. It is WieWasWie. Now, so on my handout, I will write down the link, but it is WieWasWie.nl. V, who, was, V, who. So who was who, or WieWasWie and .nl. And so when they started out, people had access to everything because it was still in its trial and you could search. But still, you can search for a name. And I will type in my dad's name. And my dad was Jacobus Piquet, and uppercase, lowercase, it doesn't matter. And when I search, I get all these names. And at the bottom, you see 1, 2, 3, there might be more, yes. When I click on 3, I see 4 and 5. There are many, many people. And what you see is the last name. Oh, what I wanted to mention to you is it can be in English. And so I will type my dad's name again. And here it is. And all the descriptions are in English. But as you see, the document type is still in Dutch. And overlijden means death. Geboorte means, here we have geboorte. That means birth. That is kind of similar. And then you have huwelijk, which is marriage. And they also have, if you see bevolkingsregister, that is a census. But of course, there are many Jacobus Piquet. And one thing, they show also people who have Jacobus in the first name, but they, like this person is Jacobus Niklaas Jan. And so you can search, and I can organize by date. And so it's all over the Netherlands. And that is kind of hard. And I don't know if my dad was born in 1923, so I don't know if he was in there, but my grandfather, my dad's dad, his name was also Jacobus Piquet. And so I can look for, and it says here, child. And suddenly you see all the births. And it starts in 1716. And that is not a birth, but a christening that happens, a dopen, baptism. So what else do I know about my grandpa? I can't remember if he was born in The Hague, but he was born, and I can do that here, in Zuid-Holland, South Holland. That's one of the provinces. And I remember that he was born somewhere shortly before the turn of the century. So I am going to go to number 2. And let me see, Jacobus Piquet, he was not born let's see. I am going to look, because here we have some people who are born around the turn of the century. And I have a guess it might be in Leiden. And this is not right, because I look, when I click on this one, it gives me the birth date. It gives me the father's name. It gives me the mother's name. And then it says, go to source. Well, even though it's not my grandpa, let's go to the source. Oh, and the other thing that it shows here is in 1875, his parents got married. And I can click on that and look at the marriage of his parents. But let's go to the source. The source is in Leiden, which is in South Holland. And so the city of Leiden has a website, and they have all their records on there. I went back in the Piquets as far as I could. And around 1600, I found the marriage record of one of my direct ancestors. And it was amazing. But here we have, here is Jacobus Piquet. He was born on this date in 1889 in Leiden. His father is Dirk Piquet. He was a painter of houses. And then his mother is Johanna Catharina de Vey. And now I want to look at the document. So I click on the document. And I have to zoom in. And here I already found it. Here is the birth certificate of Jacobus Piquet, the birth record. And it says in the year 1809, the Dutch say 9 and 80, so 89, on the 16th month of October, in the morning at 10 o'clock, appeared before me, and that is that in the town hall, Dirk Piquet, they give his age, and it says where he lives, and he says that Johanna Catharina de Vey, that is the mother, without profession and living in Leiden, his wife gave birth on the 15th of October, 1880, in the afternoon at 11:15, and gave birth to a child of the male gender, and she gave him the name Jacobus. And can you see how much information is given in this document? And then there are two witnesses. Often these witnesses are people that are in the town hall, but here is the signature of Dirk Piquet, the father of the child. And so this is a tremendous resource with WieWasWie, and so I am quite happy with that, and it gives me this page is still open, and you see here is Jacobus Piquet, and I can click on his name. I'm still in Leiden, and here are all the Jacobus Piquet in Leiden who are in the archives. I can again organize by date, and so here is a Jacobus Piquet born in 1716. So you can actually continue searching on that website. But if you don't, we can click that page, and we can click this page, and we're back in WieWasWie. And you have the birth of Jacobus Piquet, but it wasn't the right one. I am looking at the next one, and here I have, it is the same one, Jacobus Piquet, with Dirk Piquet as a father. So we're going to 1898, and it is Jacobus Piquet, father Jacobus Piquet, mother Maria Hendrika Trasseur, but I know his mother was Vasseur. Now, why does it say Trasseur? Because it got indexed, and it was indexed incorrectly. But, you know, now I have it. It says go to the source. So I can go to the source, and here it is. But I can't look at the document, because the document, he was born in a city near Leiden called Oegstgeest, and so I cannot look at that document, but I have the information. And so I have just found my grandfather. And if I want to have the birth certificate, I can go to the town of Oegstgeest and look it up. My mother would go to Oegstgeest. We can do it from our house. And I'll show you later how to do that. So what we can do, let me get out of this, is we can get in WieWasWie, and we can look by one name. Let me show you if you get a subscription, because I have a subscription and I am signing in. And so now I can search by two people. Okay, and it says advanced search. Now, what is just really nice is I could say Jacobus Piquet. Oh, and I will go to Vasseur. But remember that Vasseur was written a different way. So I can go to Piquet, last name. Oh, and you see the E and the B. E stands for exact. B stands for start with. And I like to do the start with because sometimes you have a name that does not, you don't know exactly how people wrote it. So first name, Jacobus. I'm pretty sure of that, but I could have said Jacob. Or I could have just put in J. And then the last name. Now I know that the birth certificate was not Vasseur, it was Trasseur, but well, let me just put in Vasseur. I'll do FASS, and I think it was Maria, but I'm not sure. I'll leave it blank, and I'm going to search. I am going to search, and I look, and it says here, Jacobus Piquet, marriage. And the bride is Maria Hendrika Vasseur. Now, and where did she come from? She was born in Vlissingen, which is another province, Zeeland. And she was 23 when she got married, which means 97 minus 23 is 74. She was born around 1874 in Vlissingen. And the father is of the groom is Jacobus Piquet and Maria Speck. And then it says the father of the bride, Isaac Vasseur and Johanna Hofmann. Hofmann is actually a German name, and they were in the Netherlands for, I'd say, a century, but if you want to go before that, you will have to go and do research in Germany. What else do I have? It says here, they have the marriage of the parents of the groom. I can click on that and it brings me to that marriage. And so here is Jacobus Piquet with Maria Speck. And it gives the parents of the groom and of the bride. But look here, marriage, parents of groom. I can go then to the next generation back, marriage, parents, bride, and they have the birth of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 children. Not just the birth, but also marriages. And so it is incredibly handy to do that. And but it is, you will have to pay for that. Then let me go back to my PowerPoint, and here we go. And I will share my PowerPoint again and share screen, and I will, I think it is shared, right? Is it? Yeah, oh, here, share. Now, that is what I use the most because it gives me access to records that are in different parts of the town. And you can do that with one person, but when you do it with 2 people, searching for 2 people, and also just the beginning of the name, then that is incredibly helpful. So one thing, what we encounter with whatever genealogy we do, and it's also in the Netherlands, when you get into the 1800s, most people don't know how to read or write. And so they, oh, yeah. And so the person who writes down the information, he uses his best estimate of the way the name is written, like Piquet. Originally, these my ancestors came from France, and it was Piquet, Piquet, and they went to the Wallonian church, which is a French-speaking church. However, then later on, they are established in the Netherlands, and they might go to a Dutch-speaking church, and PK becomes Picard, Puquart. It becomes PK with Picket, Piquet with Pieket, and so there are many variations. And then it helps to just be able to put in a couple of letters of the last name, because you will find more. But you cannot do that with the free version. So here is the link. The advantages are no cost, and you can research for one person, and you cannot research for variations of the name. But here is an example. He is one of my ancestors, and I want to look for Willem Jacobs Kool, and let me go there here. Yeah, and I will go back to WieWasWie, and now I gotta think of where my tab is, and it is here. And I will stop. Can you can you guys see WieWasWie, or do I have to stop?
No, we can see it just fine. Thank you.
Oh, great. Okay, so WieWasWie. I am going. I am still logged in, so I'm going to search, and I'm putting in begins with, and we have Kool. I'm Kool. What his first name is Willem. I'm just putting in Wil because it could be Wilhelm with an H, and I am skipping the middle name, which means that it is the son of Jacob. Then I am going to his wife, and her last name is Noordzij. I am going to leave out the last IJ, because maybe sometimes it will be written as EI. And her first name was Neeltje. I'm just going to do an N, and I'm going to search. I'm organizing by date, and I know that they were married on the 11th of May, 1794. Here it is, the second one. And there we have him. And his middle name is not mentioned. So here we have the groom. Then here we have the bride, Neeltje Noordzij, and they married in 1794. What happened is they were married in the church, because this was before Napoleon, who comes around 1811. But it says go to the source, and I will, and it's in Rotterdam, which is where Charloes is a suburb of Rotterdam, and I'm going to the source. And then it gives me the archives of Rotterdam, and it gave me the source. And so then I can get that information. But I saw, and now I have to look at my different, that is that. No, I think this is it. But here is the information. But later I'll show you how you, well, in the next lesson I'll show you, oh wait, yeah, we have half an hour. I'll show you the next lesson. I'll show you how to go into the church records and find that official document. But that is what you can do. And let's go back. That was, oh yeah. I wanted to show you what else you have. Willem Kool. But we're searching for two names, so the two parents. So here is Willem Kool. What else? It is 2 pages of information, and as you can see, it's all Charlotte. So I'm going to open every single one of those. And I'm going to see what additional information I can get by searching with two names. Well, here's the marriage, 1794.
Listening to a Zoom.
And so here's the marriage. Willem Kooi and Neeltje Noordzij have a child, Jacob Kool. And he is born on the 15th, he is christened on the 15th of March, 1795. And you can once again get that information. Then comes the next child, Aagje. And Arie comes. And they're all the parents. Peter, so you find all the children, and Kleis, and Susanna, and another Kleis, which means the first Kleis died. And that happened a lot in the Netherlands, that then the second time they have a son, they give it the same name as the one who died. And here is Maria and Gerritje they had. And here is Willem Kool who died. What Willem Kool? Well, we have his father and mother and his partner, Neeltje Arijse Noordzij. That was his wife. So now we have the death date of Willem Kool. And now you get a marriage with Arie Stok. And always the name of the husband is mentioned. But the bride is Aagje Kool. And so now you have Aagje's marriage. And we go on. Here is Jacob Kool who got married. And Hendrik Sterkman, and my grandmother's maiden name was Sterkman. She married Susanna, she married Hendrik Sterkman. And so we have Arie Kool who gets married, Peter Kool, and then Willem Kool is born. And who is the father? Kleis Kool. And that was, so Willem Kool became a grandfather. And he had a grandson named Willem after him. And here is Kleis Kool. And they get married. And he gets married before, after his child is born. And here is Willempje Kool. And she died. And that was a daughter of the Kleis Kool, the son. But you can see, and there's another page with more information. But let me now log out. And we can just look again for last name Kool, first name Willem. And you could put in the place. And let me see. Yeah, you can just say the Netherlands. And then the place, what was it? Charlotte. We knew that. And let's just search. And then you have to, you get everything. But remember, we knew he was, let's look for groom. And he married in 1794, and we have found him, and we know his wife, but we don't know his parents. But you can go to the source, and we're back in Rotterdam, and you can see the groom and the bride. The reason why you don't see the parents is because often the parents aren't mentioned, and because when you pay the subscription for a year, then you see the marriage of the parents if they have it. So anyway, but we're going out of this and we're saying, I don't want to see him as a groom. I want to see him as a father. And then you can look at the town and look at this. You see all those baptisms again. And I don't see any marriages. but you can see a lot again. So even the free WieWasWie can give you a lot of information. But it could be that Willem Kool, that there was more than one Willem Kool in the city. And so then you have to make sure that each record has Neeltje Noordzij as wife. So, but it can still be done. So it is, and still, you know, when you go to here is Jacob Kool, Willem Kool is the father, Neeltje Noordzij is the mother, and there was a witness, and you can go to the source. But and here it says the document type, it says Rotterdam. It also says the registration number and the registration date. And so here is your source that you can put in, and you can just copy that. And or you can go to the source in Rotterdam again. And so here you have information about the christening. And so WieWasWie is really a tremendous source because it gives you access to all the archives. However, not all. Certain places are very active in putting genealogical information online. Other places are not. And so let me go back to my PowerPoint. Here we are. And we go, and so here is the subscription, and the advantages are that you can use part of the name, and you can search for two people. So what if you can't use WieWasWie? Because I have on my my father's mother's side, they come from North Holland, and a lot of it is not online. And so then I wonder, you know, how can I find that? There was a website that the Dutch people maintained. It was called Genver, Genver. But this last week, I've looked every single day and it is offline. Genver is really helpful because it helps you to directly link to a particular city in a province. And so you could search by province, and then in the province by city, and then you could look at the church records, or you can look at the civil records. But that is no longer there. So what we have to do is we have to go and search. And now I am opening up. Let me see where I am. Oh, right here. And I am going to FamilySearch.org. So let me go to my family tree, and let me unshare this. And I am going to share again, that now we are going to, oh my goodness, I have too many WieWasWie, FamilySearch. Okay. I don't know where it went. I am going to look for it again. It is, oh, I know where it is. There we are. This is FamilySearch. I don't know if any of you use FamilySearch, but I use it a lot. And so and it is for everybody. You can get a free account. You can just sign up. So I have my own account, and actually it is a very nice, I'll show you me. And if you look at my tree, you can see I'll do 7 generations, and you can, oh, I want it smaller. Oh yeah, here. You can see I have a lot of generations and I am not yet done. Well, actually, this is somebody who I don't have enough information on. But let's go to, well, you see this top line where it says search. So you can search. And there are many ways that you can search, but I like to search in the catalog. And so I go to the catalog and you can search by place, by surnames, titles of books, authors of books. And so I am going to search for the Netherlands. And I click on that and I do search. And can you all see that? I guess I hope
You
so.
can see it.
Okay, places within the Netherlands. And here are all the provinces. And there is sometimes like South Holland is the same as Zuid-Holland. Now, what if I go to South Holland? It doesn't give me anything, but it says, see the Netherlands, Zuid-Holland. The Dutch, so this is the Dutch term for that province. And I have a whole bunch of things for Zuid-Holland. However, I want to go and see the cities in the province. And so places within the Netherlands, Zuid-Holland. And here you can click and there are lots of places. And I see Benthuizen right here. And my brother lives in Zoetermeer, and Benthuizen is just a small village, but you can find it in here. And so let's see. For instance, Charlotte, here is the town, Charlotte. And it has church history, it has church records, indices, but here is civil registration. Now, the top one never does me any good. But here you have burgerlijke stand, and it will always be in Dutch, unfortunately. But burgerlijke stand from 1812 to 1895. So I'll click on that. And it tells me the heading, but then we scroll down and suddenly we have all these films that we can look at. Now, 10-year tables. I'll tell you about that next. And then they have birth. And they even have the time period that the birth took place. And marriages, marriage announcements. And then it says huwelijksbijlage. And that is a very good thing. I'll tell about that later. Then you get the death, you get more 10-year tables, birth, again, marriages, death. So you can see that everything here, where are birth, 1890, no, birth all the way to 1892, or maybe even, and marriages a little longer, 1895. So you can see there are lots of films to look at. Okay. Now, one thing, when Napoleon conquered the Netherlands, he insisted that all the records were kept in French. So if you look at those first records, then you will see that they're handwritten in French. And so I'll stop for just a minute and I'll share this because that is kind of fun. This is my mother. And my mother started doing genealogy, around 1960. And a member of the church saw her in the archives, and you can see the big book that she has. And she is copying information from the book onto a sheet of paper, because that's how she did research, and they didn't have computers accessible to families in those days. And so the first thing you can do is look at the 10-year tables. So I'm going to stop that, and I am going again to this one. Let me see where I have it. 10-year tables. There we go. Okay. I told you about the 10-year tables, and this is the way my mother did it. She didn't know much in the beginning, and so she actually, a guy in the genealogical library taught her how to do it. And so he says, first get the 10-year tables, and we can look at it. And what you find in the 10-year tables, and here is the whole film, and it is 171 pages. And you think, oh my goodness, do I have to search through all this? Well, there are headings that I like. And it says, this is from 1812 to 1842. And so what I do, I go on the little things so that I can see everything. I saw a heading here, and I go through, and here is a new page. Don't know if there's anything on this page, no, but then I go to the new one. Well, that is awfully, let me go to the beginning, because I think that was a little lighter. What do we have here? Province Holland. This is the Charlois from January 1830 to December 1822, so 10 years. And so here they start with the births, and it's alphabetized. And so then you can go from page to page and look for the person that you want to find. And for instance, here is Barendrecht. This is the left page, by the way. And here, oh, no, it is the whole page for Charlotte. We have Cornelis Andriessen Burt. Last name comes first. And the mother is Geertrui Kruidenier. And they had a child named Leentje. And the date of the act is the 4th of November, 1817. And no, and this is the second page. So what my mother would do is she would look, for instance, for Piquet. And she would look in these 10-year tables, and she would write down the date of the when it was recorded. So you have 1817, you have 1820, it is for 10 years. And so that was the birth. And then she would go to the librarian and say, can I have the birth records of these and these dates? And then she'd get a bunch of books, and he would tell her how many she could have. And then she would go through the books, and because the birth records are for a particular year, and she would go to that date and find the birth record. Now, many times it could be somebody who was not linked to our family, but nevertheless, then she'd go to the next book. And that's how she slowly but surely found the names of the family. Now, is there more in these tables? Yes, these are the births. Now, I think there is a little more writing on these pages. And what is it? Nope, still births. And you can, so I am just kind of browsing through that. And because I don't want to go by page, from page to page. Well, now I am in the marriages, and it starts with an S. So I can go back to where the marriages begin, and then you can look again on by last name, and it gives the name of here, for instance, is Pieter Klaas Kranenburg and Jannetje van der Wel. So the bride, they put the first name first, but for the groom, they put the last name, and they give you the date of the marriage. So then you go to the marriage books and you ask for the marriage books, and you go to that date and you search on that date to find the marriage of that particular person. What else is in the 10-year tables? I will go somewhere here. And what do I find? Overledens. Here are all the people who died in those 10 years in that town. And once again, here we are in Lems, Peter. And they say, for instance, he died in 1814 on the 24th of January. And then you go to the death book and you look for the deaths. So that is really helpful. So how do we find those books? Well, so I had the 10-year tables, and the first one is a 10-year table, and that is for 30 years. So then you get, after the death, you get the next 10 years of the birth, marriages, and so on. Then you can start looking. Here are the birth books. So I want to go to that image. And here you have the vital records. These are the births from 1812 to 1842. And if you go to the next one, it says Charlois, that's the town, naissance, which means birth, because it's in French. And it says 14, I think the feuille, I think they mean 1814. And so the introduction. And what is funny, I look at the very first one, it's in Dutch. In the year 1812, on the 6th day of the month of January in the morning. And you go through there and you look at, the date is always mentioned. And so you can go through there and find your particular date. And it is on date all the way. And you see this little thing here? Now we are, oh, this still says 1812. So it might be continued. Let's see what we have here. Here is 1813. And so in a way you can quickly scroll through these birth records and see where the year is, the book is that you want. Because here is 1815 and so on. And that is what you can do with, let's see, with the Netherlands. Now, I want to go back to the films. And we're going back to our guy, Wichert Voys. He is one of my ancestors, and he married in Katwijk. So we're going back to Katwijk, and we're going back to Zuid-Holland, places within Zuid-Holland. And now I'm searching for Katwijk. Katwijk, let's see, we need to, it is, we don't want that. Oh. KL, Katwijk. And do you see that there is a Katwijk aan de Rijn, which is a town on the river? Katwijk aan Zee, which is a town at the ocean. And it tells you, see the Netherlands, Zuid-Holland, Katwijk. And so here you click on it, you see, oh, there is even a census, and there are church records, and here are civil records. And I skipped the first, I go to the second one. And here, once again, we have the films. Now I have an ancestor, and I know he was married in 1814, but I couldn't find him on WieWasWie. And so I am going to marriages because I already know a date. And I have to look here, marriage between 1811 and 1828. And I will start looking here. This is 1812. So I'm going to skip all that, probably 1813. I'm going to go and look here. Now, here it is. Marriages of the Katwijk, which was a small town, a gemeente, 1814. The other thing I know is he was born on the 1st of September. So all this is 1814. Well, I'm not going through that page by page. I'll just go, here is 1815. I'm just going to go here. And what does it tell me? Gotta find the beginning. Nope, here we have it. Nope, this is 1813. Let's go. But you have to, this is the way my mother had to do it. This is 15, so I don't know how 13 snuck in there. And so this is November. And August. And so this is the 27th of August. And he was married on the 1st of September. This is the 1st of September. But I am looking at the Leendert Schaap. That's not my ancestor. We're looking. So we need to see the previous one. And here he is. Now, that is really interesting because I just found his marriage record on the first month of September, 1814. And then it gives the name of the mayor. And in Katwijk, and we have Wichert Voys, 26-year-old. He makes baskets. He was born and lives in Katwijk. And they even give the address. And, Katwijk aan de Rijn. And the Rhine was a river, is a river. And he was baptized there on the 16th of March, 1788. And son of Cornelis Voys, basket maker, and Dirkje Schippers. I find his parents. And he marries Huberta van der Kwaak, 30 years old, without a profession, living in Katwijk aan de Rijn. And she was born in Rijnsburg, which is another city. And she was christened on the 22nd of February, 1784. And so, and then it gives her parents. Well, this is really cool because I hadn't even found that marriage record yet. So what I can do is I can, you see the link here, I can attach it to my account on FamilySearch, or I can just get the link, or you even can download the image. And you have to download probably 2 pages. Yeah, and here is his signature, Wichert Voys. And I remember the bride and the other witnesses, have declared that they cannot write. So Wichert Voys writes his name, and Cornelis Voys, I think that is his father, they write their names. And the other ones could not, other people signed. Here is a Jacob Voys, but you can see that some people really have hard time writing. So, and that is what you can do. And it is so, so handy. And so now you have had the birth or the marriage record, and you can do the same with the birth. Now, the interesting thing is I have the birth date of Wichert, and he was born in 1794. And so I have to go to the church records, and we'll do that next week, because church records are harder than civil records, because you can see how much information is in here. And so that you do not have with a marriage record. Often the parents aren't even mentioned. And sometimes there are witnesses, sometimes there are not. And so this is what my mom would do. She would write down, I have the marriage, this is the date. These are the groom and bride. Here I have the parents, and I also have their birth dates. Now, when you get later in the 1800s, you will no longer see the birth dates of the groom and bride. You will see how old they are. They're so many years old. So then you know about what year they are born. It will say where they were born. And so then you have to search that way. But once again, this is then the harder way to find people in the Netherlands. So I think you should see this now. So here was, first you look in the 10-year tables, then you have an idea. Well, I looked in the 10-year tables and found the marriage, because that was done in a town hall. And then you can look for the death of like, for instance, if I want to find Wichert Voys' death. Well, I have no idea when he died. I might know when the oldest child was born, and so I can start looking around that day. But the first thing you do is you go to the 10-year tables where the birth of the last child is in. And that way you have an idea of where to look. And you look in that 10-year table under death, and then you look for the last name Voys. Interestingly enough, you might find some of the children that have died in those 10 years. But if you don't find it in the first 10-year tables, go to the next 10-year, and so on, until you can find Wichert Voys. Now, there is another, let me see if the link works. Let's see, there we go. The link I'll put in the paper too. But one of the things that you can do is, if you go into search and you type in the Netherlands, well, one of the things, the way I found it is search and you do research wiki. I'll do that for you. And when you do research wiki, you can say, oh, I can just type in here, Netherlands. And I type on that, and you have the Netherlands genealogy. And it tells you things like a word list, Latin word list. We'll do that with church records, because the Catholic Church kept records in Latin. It gives you hints on reading Dutch, birth records, marriage records, death records. It even has a course on beginner Dutch handwriting. names in Belgium and the Netherlands. And Belgium, part of Belgium is Dutch speaking, and it was part of the Netherlands. It tells you to go WieWasWie. And that is what I told you about. Here is WieWasWie. But once again, there is, and now they, oh, let's see, here we go. OpenArc is another website where you can look for names. I sometimes the church has links to there. And here I can search for Jacobus Piquet, my father. And then you can look down here. You can say, oh, I want to find his birth record. Civil registration, civil birth. Click on that. I remember he was born in Oostgeest. We go down here again, and it has Leiden, Rotterdam, The Hague, Oostgeest. And there are 3. Now I can organize them by date. And I actually remembered he was born in 1898 because we've seen him before. And here you can also search and you find the information. Father, Jacobus Piquet, mother, Maria Hendrika, and it says Trasseur, but that is incorrect. And here is the complete source citation, and that is nice. And it gives you, I'm not sure, I'll go there. No, that link doesn't really help you much, but it says down here that Jacobus Piquet can find in multiple places. And here is Jacobus Piquet. And he died in 1971. And I remember that because I lived there. And this is stamboom, means family tree of Koeman and Vlam. I remember the name Koeman. I remember that because it was my grandmother, so his wife's name. And it says here, he was a huisknecht. He worked in kind of like a butler, but I remember that during the war, he worked for Shell Oil, and he was the gatekeeper of Shell Oil. He died on January 21, 1971 in The Hague. He lived just around the corner of us, and he was a child of Jacobus Piquet and Maria Hendrika Vasseur. You can click on it. I clicked on Maria Hendrika Vasseur, and I can actually find out that she was born on this date in Vlissingen. And then matches in other publications, and you can start looking in there too. And so, let me go here. That was OpenArc. I like WieWasWie better because OpenArc will give you the information, but not always the sources. And if you don't have the sources, then for me it is hearsay. And I'd rather see the original certificate or the source where it comes from. So also on the right here, they talk about the record types that you have, the background of the Netherlands. Here are the provinces again. And right here is guided research. And when you click on guided research, if that doesn't give me, well, it gives you some information. I'm going back. I'll do research strategies. And here, it gives you strategies on how to do research in the Netherlands. And so you can it really helps you. But then it does record finder. And so it tells you where you can find vital information or finding the town of origin. It is helpful. In my research, I use WieWasWie the most. And if I have to, if I cannot find it in WieWasWie, then I go to search the Netherlands, search catalog the Netherlands, places in the Netherlands, and I choose the province, places in that province, and then I can look at the 10-year tables. And so everything that my mother had to go to the archives for, and a lot of the family was born in Leiden, which was, it's about a half an hour ride with the car. And then you have to find a parking place. And since it is a densely populated country, it was hard to find a parking place to go to the archives. And you better not go home during traffic hours, traffic jams, because then the drive back home might be an hour or more. And here we are sitting comfortably with a glass of water and a sandwich next to us, and we can find those records without even getting out of our pajamas. So that was my presentation. And so I'll now open it up for questions. Is that okay?
Marilyn is asking, is there a handout? And yes, there will be a handout.
Yes.
It will be posted within the next week, would you say? Okay.
In the next couple of days, you will have a handout.
Okay. Yes. I will stop the recording, and if you have questions, you can put them in